Hello, my little bambinos. Now, I thought I'd hop on here because it is a tentative matter of whether this video is going to work or not. Take it as a given. I don't think the sound is 100%, but I did think I owed the people who did try and listen to my, oh God, it was morose, broadcast the other night, a little appearance. Now that I have this working, for now, believe me, I've been dicking about with it and the other PC most of the morning. My friend over in the States sent me a fix, but I'd already more or less tried everything. So this could be, again, the last video for a while. But now that we have it, here we are, all gathered together on this autumnal evening. It's 11 degrees and it's mostly cloudy, according to my PC. Am I out of coffee? No, I've just got enough. As I said, I'm not sure what the humming noise is, but look, it's make do, isn't it? It's better to see us all. So, we did This Much Is True about 2 nights back. And I do want to apologise to you because it was totally all over the shop. But the core message was I found it, I have been finding it hard just to deal with the amount of people who have taken their own lives in my kind of circle of awareness, which isn't a massive circle of friends or anything, just in terms of acquaintance, and I know one who knows someone. But of course, it really came home a few doors down when my neighbour took his life. And I still have difficulty just walking by that front door, knowing there was this guy who I really thought very highly of, and I seen the condolence book, everybody else did as well. And he had, for his own reasons, he had just had enough, you know. So look, I'll try and steer away from that now that I'm here. I'm just so happy to see you again, because it's weird. I am, first and foremost, always an audio person, but what you get used to tends to be on the YouTube thing, I think, with the cluster of listeners I have. Again, thank you so much to Richie Allen, the Richie Allen Show, the Richie Allen Podcast. Now, it's huge. And he took me under his wing recently. And, you know, I could have been doing with it because I value his, not only his friendship, but his professionalism. And Richie is, you know, he is kind of low onto himself. He's a very superb broadcaster. I'm not just saying that. He's incisive, and what I love about him as well is he thinks ahead. He thinks what the listener is thinking. He'll often say, I know what you're thinking, but, you know, and he is, and he's right. He's usually right. You know, you're contradicting him in your head as he makes a statement, but he anticipates that and he comes along and he'll put it in context. Anyway, thank you so much, Richie Allen. Please, folks, I mean, he doesn't need anything from me because my listenership is nothing, but I know he sent a few people my way and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Richie Allen, so much. Yes, what else was I doing today? Right, so Scary Era, the podcast, is coming on an established platform, the Paranormal UK platform. Bit of a misnomer. It's run from the States, but it's aimed at the UK. So I thought, listen, guys, I must thank David Young, who had a show there for years. I heard David signing off, and I said, I'd like to have a go, David. Can you put me in touch with the right people? And sure enough, he did. He put me in touch with Mark from the States, a fellow Mark. And we got on great. And this time, last week, we decided, he said, I'll select you. I'll go with you. Which is great, because I want to play on the Irish thing. There's so much diaspora or people abroad whose ancestors hailed from here, be it in Australia, all the far-flung corners of the world. You'll find the paddies, of course, and of course America. How could we forget that? Sure, didn't we help build the place and police it as well? Don't I wear Boston t-shirts? Showing off my plum-ish tummy, which isn't good. Nigel's told me to stop. Well, he hasn't, but he's intimated I talk too much about my heart condition, and he's right. He's right. So far, so good. I'm going on 6 years now. apart from one knock, everything has been pretty good. Oh yes, if you have, please have a think about this. Please, I beg you. I think the first show is more or less sorted for Scary Era. I'm so looking forward to it. I've got the military on board, and I've got a good friend of mine who's up in the kind of Meath area, which just bristles with ancient, literally ancient history. What do you know? The Stonehenge. Stonehenge, of course, and no disrespect, it's ancient. But like Newgrange in County Meath, it's even older by a few thousand years, I think. So hopefully you'll be hearing a couple of stories of banshees and the little people, or apparitions, or I'll be relating for the umpteenth time my own story, but from the surrounds of where it occurred. And that's the military barracks up in... look, we'll be talking about it. But if you have a story, or you know someone who's prepared to talk to me, I can do this technically. Once, if you've got a mobile phone, we're in business. We got a mixer here. I tested it this morning on Bluetooth. It works a treat. So, you know, if someone could put a few words together in relating an incident, or 5 or 10 minutes duration or thereabouts, let's have you. If it's ghostly enough and intriguing enough, fascinating, or it's just something to make you ponder, let's have it. You can get me at the best place to get me is thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. What is it? That's the one. thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. Please, let's have it. I don't care if it's not from Ireland. I mean, we'll have a focus on Ireland, but not exclusively so. If it's something you can bring, sure, most people have Irish grandparents anyway, eh? Or some relative down the line. But look, I bar nobody from the benefits of appearing on this inaugural operation. Not show. I think the show is covered. Although, if I can fit you in show 1, I will. And in 2 weeks' time or thereabouts, we'll have show 2. And I would say almost definitely you'll be on that. So, I am so happy to see you again. Or for you to see me. God knows, I have a face for radio. But it's just to see this thing working again today. I mean, I could have put my fucking fist through it. Both PCs. As I said, it could be a fragile thing. It could be, hang on, see this Dennis the Menace? My darling wife, she was a member of the Dennis the Menace Club. And I think that hails from 1984 or 83. She's such a sweetheart. And I found this, and I nicked it. But I'll treat it with great reverence. Dennis the Menace, great. Let's talk about comics for a while. I'm talking about the old papered variety. In our day, we had the Dandy and the Beano. I suppose these days, not that they would, but it's the Porno and the Randy. And they were innocent. They're still around. The last time somebody got me the Beano, right, as a joke, Christ, it was wokeified and diversified beyond belief. Now, I'm sorry. I am not going to go there with your diversity and your woke. I am too old and long in the tooth to get down and dirty but I'm just saying, to see what would have been an institution all the way from probably the 20s or the 30s up, and you had all these characters that you were used to, and then to come at them with a clean sheet 50 years, 40 years down the road and go, oh my God, I didn't realise that Lord Snooty's pals were of a different lineage. Now those of you are out there probably going, so what? I'm not saying, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is, it ain't true to the original offering, which is imbued in your mind if you grew up with it, as I did, and the many generations before. And I'm coming to the party so late and looking at a Beano or a Dandy anyway, not that I'll be again. I probably not in my lifetime. But the last time I saw it, it wasn't shock. It was just bewilderment. I mean, it's completely different. let's try and remember the characters if we can anyway, from the old days. Various comics. So, comics-wise, Beano, Dandy. The Warlord in the 70s. Warlord, you could be a Warlord agent. And I know because I was involved in the torture of one. Yes, me and my mates decided we hadn't got the money to buy the Warlord membership or whatever it was. So we captured a Warlord agent. He would have been a fellow of our own age, about 11 or 22. And, sorry, my jocks are kind of sticking to me here. Ooh, good God. And too much information. And we basically beat the codes out of them. Yeah, they all had a code book, 3 is equal to A, C is equal to 6, whatever. And they had all these codes, but we broke them. Didn't take long. A couple of good slaps. And that won't be in the woke edition. And yeah, we got all these secrets out of them. Also, there was the Hotspur. For the girls as well, you had Jackie. Come on, let's think here now, gang. Get your thinking caps on. So we've the Hotspur, the Dandy, the Beano, the Jackie. Scorcher. Wasn't that a football one? Right? And then there was a character as well, Alf Tupper, the tough of the track. I think he might have been in the Victor. The Victor was all the war one. I remember lots of, like the Victor. Then there was another one came out. Oh, what was it? There was a character in it called Fireball, and you get a Fireball pendant. My sister and myself were Fireball agents. What was that? What was it called? The Fireball? I tell you what, there was one came out, and it was notorious, right? It really was. It was called the Action Comic, and it was very short-lived. I mean, graphic beheadings, and it was violent, but it was made for the kids. In fact, they had a strip in it called Kids Rule OK. And the opening scene was like kids booting in an old fella's head, or... It was vicious. It was way ahead of its time. These days they're looking at the real thing on TikTok. But I mean, I put it... There was a Dredger. He was some kind of... an agent in it, Dredger, and then they had, which really surprised me, they had a Hook Jaw. Hook Jaw was based on Jaws, and these guys were trying to track down this killer shark, and they killed the hero. One of the last pictures on one of the strips was them holding the hero's head up, going, oh, he was killed. You don't kill the hero! Action Comic did it. There is some kind of documentary, I think, on YouTube about it. It was, oh God, it was vile. It was vile. And they also had, remember, it was always the Allied side. They had a German, right? And it was the German side, guy fighting on the Russian front. It was brutal. And it was aimed at like 11 to 14-year-olds. What were they thinking? There was a guy in it called Steve as well, Money Steve. It wasn't applicable in Ireland, but if you saw him on somewhere in some street in London or in England in general, you'd run up and you'd say, you are Steve and I claim the money. And Money Steve would give you a few pounds. So now, can we think of any more before we go? Well, as time went on, I did get into Smash Hits. Now, that was different. It was kind of pop magazine. Even in my early 20s, I'd be buying Smash Hits, because of the Duran Duran and Spandau Ballet and all the pop bands in it. So I'd had lots of Smash Hits. That was a cool magazine. And then as I got older, of course, the GQ and the FHM, was it? Or the comics, huh? Can you remember any more comics? Comments below. Because you did look forward to them, didn't you? I think they generally came out on a Tuesday. And my mother... God love her. She was a great woman. A very funny woman at times. But she could also give me a hard time. I remember you'd get these free gifts in the comics. Little clickers and things like, in click, click. That was to signal another paratrooper if you dropped behind enemy lines on D-Day. You had to... Do you remember the film The Longest Day? Click, click. And then another little fella came off, a little homemade parachute. And then there was one, you'd get all the badges of the regiments as well, and you'd put them in, they were golden, and you'd put them in a sticker. But I remember my mum, like, she really had a go at me one day, and I'm not feeling sorry for myself or speaking out of turn. It's just, I mean, as a parent myself, you know the way you do something and you regret it. But, you know, she had a go at me going, you're getting these stupid things for the free gifts and free my ass kind of thing. And rubbish, you're buying this rubbish. And I remember feeling that small. It was only a fucking comic, you know. But yeah, so we all make mistakes. But I mean, I think, oh God, the barrage didn't warrant the crime that had been committed of spending a bit of change or something on a comic. Perhaps the lady was having a bad day, and of course it's not up to me to forgive her. We all had bad days, and as I said myself, as a parent, you do sometimes, you go a bit over the top and you hate yourself. Maybe she hated herself later that day. I remember my dad coming home and she having a pop off him about the money I'd wasted, and we were okay. You know, we were doing all right. But I think what happened with the certain generation is they had a lot of kind of tough times, especially around the 30s, where the Depression, and the 40s wasn't much better in Ireland. So they really appreciated the value of money. Do you like all the colour in my studio, guys? Do you like the colour? You know, I like that. I like that. That's a bit of colour. I'm so looking forward to doing the Scary Era thing. I have a friend of mine, and I haven't seen him in years, and he's popping down to the studio. We're going to record it here. I've got him a guest mic. It's a nice mic, this. I don't know if you can see it. It's a nice Sennheiser MK64, MK4. It's not a bad mic. This is the Rolls Royce of mics. It's the Neumann, the Dennis. Do you hear me? I'm going, yeah, because I'm so excited to see you again. I thought it was going to be, and look, I'm going to switch this off now. Maybe we won't see each other again. Maybe this is a one-off. But it has been good talking to you. Please get in touch if you've got a ghostly story or any comments. This much is true at protonmail.com. I'm really waiting on you. I'm depending on you. Keep this thing going. Keep it alive, you know. Oh, before I go, speaking of scary stuff, did I mention this? So, 8 minutes that direction, there's a graveyard. And I had filmed in Scary Era before. You will see it. I won't name it. It's on YouTube. And it's tiny, but it dates from like the 1600s. And there are a few tents in it now. I'm not saying they're migrants. They may very well be. Or they could just be our own local. But to see them pitched up in this place of history. And one of them, probably unbeknownst to them, right? And everyone has to put their head down, I get it. But they don't realise they've pitched their tent right over where about 150 mixture of old kind of yeomanry and sailors are buried. A ship went down, British ship, in the early 1800s in a storm off Dublin Bay. And between that and another graveyard further down the road, Monkstown, I think, all these bodies which had washed up. And in the corner of this particular graveyard I'm talking about, it's like a mass grave. And someone has pitched their tent right over it. And I'm sure, as my father used to say, they'll see nothing worse than themselves. But talk about kind of asking for it. This much is true at protonmail.com. Please don't disappoint me. I love seeing you guys, and you can tell that. So you take care of yourselves. Hopefully we'll be doing it again.